Cruise Control streams live every Saturday starting at 10 a.m. Eastern. Watch us live on Facebook and YouTube. Details are in this podcast's episode information.
This is Cruise Control. Your on-air automotive magazine with co-hosts Fred Staab and Les Jackson. Everything you need to know about new and used cars. Industry news. We'll fix or repair your car on the air. Fasten your seatbelts and let us take the wheel. Now, your ride is about to begin. Because you're on Cruise Control. Cruise Control. Cruise Control.
That's right. It's begun. Cruise Control. Welcome to your on-air automotive magazine. I'm Fred Staab. Along for the ride, as always, is Les Jackson. We are ready to rock and roll with some great automotive stories. We've got a great guest this hour, so you've tuned into the right place. And we're going to start off this hour with the story, So Long Hemi and Hello Hurricane. That's right, the Hemi is going away, and Stellantis reveals its straight-six twin-turbo powerhouse that upstages the V8s, Les Jackson. More horsepower than the standard Hemi. Pretty cool.
This is all kind of the after effect of what's been learned in Formula One.
Yeah.
Anyway, Electrify America. If you're not familiar with this, you're gonna certainly will be. They want to build a destination charging station with plenty of amenities, and we're going to have Ben Try Nin, who's a former I'm sorry, no, we're not.
Yeah, I think
he is something else with Stellantis.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Talk about it because they've really come up, I think, with the new way service stations are going to be.
Yeah, I would agree, Les Jackson. And also, yes, you were right. Electrify America wants to build that destination charging station, but we are also going to talk about some new models from Honda, including the HR-V and possibly the return of the Honda Civic Hybrid. Hopefully they put some more ponies in that HR-V. I have a neighbor who says she calls it the granny car. She says it just has no power.
A lot of people say it's just slow.
Yeah, so they're going to work on that.
Anyway, back to the guy I mentioned before. It's time for this year's Drive for Design contest that Stellantis holds. They look to discover future automotive designers. I was ruled out many, many times because I can't draw. Ram designer and 1996 winner Ben Try Nin joins us, takes us inside the design studio. I'm always impressed with these guys. How they can do this and end up pressing it out in metal is just magic to me.
Yeah, I think we'll talk to Ben about the contest, obviously, because they have a new version coming up this year, and then we'll also talk about what he's working on. He's working, I believe, on the interior design area of Ram pickup trucks. So we'll talk about that and trends in interiors, and I'm sure it will be a fun time. So stay tuned to Cruise Control. Don't forget, check us out at cruisecontrolradio.com. Link over to our Facebook page or Twitter feed and more. So there it is, cruisecontrolradio.com. I'm Fred Staab. He is Les Jackson. We will be right back. Cruise Control is your on-air automotive magazine. Check us out at cruisecontrolradio.com.
Cruise Control.
Hey, welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. I'm Les. He's Fred.
Hello.
You know us. We're here every week.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a hurricane coming. Don't close your windows. This is a good hurricane. It's an engine.
Yeah.
It's a V6. It's 3 liters.
It's a straight 6, actually.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. It's a straight 6. And, it doesn't sound like much. Okay, well, gee whiz, 3.6, 3 liters. But it's 500 plus horsepower. It's twin turbo. And it's going to replace the Hemi.
Yeah. And here,
because the Hemi weighs more.
the Hemi, I did not know this. The current Hemi engine has an iron block.
Yep.
And that weighs a lot.
Probably 600 pounds.
And here's the thing. This is a clean sheet engine. It is a straight six. It is 3 liters. It's twin turbocharged. And what they're saying is it will offer V8 power. There's going to be 2 versions so far, a 400 horsepower version with 450 pound-feet of torque, while there will be another one, a 500 horsepower version with 475 pound-feet of torque. Now, you might say, oh, wow, well, that's good numbers, but does it match what the Hemis are doing? Actually, it does. It actually exceeds them, and it's a lot lighter. So this means better fuel economy. And the thinking is, we're going to see this at the New York Auto Show. It will be officially revealed. And the thinking is, the first thing it will go into is Jeep Grand Cherokees and Jeep Grand Wagoneers, because it will absolutely help their mileage, their fuel economy, and lighten them up a lot. You're taking a lot of weight off that front suspension, aren't you?
You are probably upwards of 200 pounds.
That's amazing. That really is. That's like having someone sit on your hood and then telling them to get off your hood, right?
Yeah, that's right. And it affects handling. It affects braking. It's just, as they say, weight begets weight.
So the old rule, there's no replacement for displacement, is no longer valid.
Not true anymore.
Yeah. It's just how much can you squeeze into the engine. The thing is, too, this will run on, a couple of people were asking, will this run on premium? It will probably, premium will be suggested for maximum power output, but it will also run on regular as well.
Yep.
And the computer will turn it down. So I'm pretty excited about this. Now, they're saying it won't immediately replace the V6 in other vehicles like the Jeep Wrangler, and other vehicles like that, but probably the Wagoneer, which probably has horrendous mileage with its V8. It will replace that and shave a lot of engine weight off of this. I'm pretty excited about it. It looks sort of like it almost doesn't look like a straight six. It almost looks like a V6. There's a lot of stuff hanging off the sides of it.
Sort of looks like a 4.
Yeah, it sort of looks like a
straight 4,
like a box. Yeah.
And 3 liters is not much space. That's divided by 6. That's 0.5 liters in each cylinder. That's about a pint.
Think about this. Think about the numbers that Ford pulls out of their 3.5 liter V6 twin turbocharged engine. I think in the hottest tune is like 450. So this is smaller. It's a different cylinder configuration, and it actually makes more power. So there you go.
Welcome to the future.
Imagine this. I imagine this in like the police car chargers and that. They'll get better fuel economy and even more power. So pretty exciting stuff. The Hurricane, and we'll be talking more about this when it's revealed officially at the New York Auto Show coming up in a couple of weeks. So pretty cool. Now, have you ever thought of a gas station as a kind of a destination station, Les?
Not a destination, but as a pleasant place. I think the closest thing we have on the East Coast are the Sheetz stations. They're bright, they're clean,
they have a good chicken sandwich. They make a good chicken sandwich.
They do, yeah.
Fresh, But most people, for most people, it's just the rack of stale cookies or something. But Electrify America wants to change that. Not just sugary drinks, but an actual amenity-filled location to charge your car. We're going to talk about that when we come back on Cruise Control, so stay tuned.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. You know what I like to do on a Saturday night, Les, is just hang out at the old filling station. How about you?
Me too. You know, it's fun to clean the oil cans, polish the dipsticks.
Yeah, maybe change the water in the with the greasy water in the windshield cleaning tub. Yeah. Well, let's just say gas stations typically nowadays are places you go, you fill up, with the exception of some of the places around here that make good sandwiches and that. But most of the time, you just get in there, get it done, and leave. But Electrify America has other plans. Now, Electrify America, of course, I guess you could say is the gas station of the future, is a charging station. But they want to take it upscale, the charging station of the future. That's what they were talking about this week. One thing, they want to cover the spots and put solar panels over them, solar awnings. I think that's a good idea.
Very smart. Very smart.
Get the energy there. And they also want to have things like valet charging and customer waiting areas, indoors and out, dedicated event spaces, and an electric vehicle showcase area. Sort of like a hybrid between a car dealership and a gas station, and, one with amenities where you can go do something. I always thought, when electric vehicles were getting coming up in our consciousness, that I always thought this is the idea for a store, to have it out front. You're doing something else. Your battery's charging. I mean,
right.
Nobody sits there and charges their cell phone and says, I'm going to sit and charge my cell phone and watch the battery indicator. Well, maybe you don't.
Well, yeah. And, here our typical gas station is you're filling your gas. You're trying to clean your window with out of that trough where the wand is with the sponge on it that actually puts dirt on the window.
Yeah, that's it.
And you just want to get out of there. The nicest stations we have ever been is my wife and I are the stations in Italy. The gas stations are all beautifully clean. They have cappuccino bars in them. They have pastries. They have salads and nice meals, and you want to stay there.
It's like a restaurante.
Right.
I also heard that you buy food at the gas stations in Iceland. A friend that went there, and he said,
yes,
that's the place to do it." So who knows? Maybe there's an Electrify America, destination station in your future. We'll have to see. But let's talk about something that will be happening a little bit sooner. Now, this may not happen in the U.S., but in Europe, Honda released their Honda Civic Hybrid based on the 11th generation platform. Right here, we get the Honda Insight, which is really the older model Honda Civic. It's based on the 10th generation. This one, though, that is was just brought out for the European market. I'm hoping it comes to the U.S. It is a hatchback. It's a 4-door. It gets power from a 2-liter direct injection Atkinson cycle 4-cylinder. And they're talking fuel economy, 55 miles to the gallon in the city, 49 on the highway. For a really nice sedan. Yeah, I said sedan. What do you think about that, Liz? I
love the idea. I encourage sedans. Certainly encourage hybrids. They have proven themselves now for 20 years or more.
Yeah.
So why not?
I hope they do bring it here because, first of all, think about that. Adding that to your fleet, the fuel economy numbers, the average goes way up.
Right.
It's a great looking vehicle. I mean, it looks like the 11th generation Civic. Would they bring the hatchback version here? I'm hoping. I think hatchbacks make sense. I, unlike a lot of Americans, like a good hatchback because I think it makes sense and
Same
makes
here.
storage easy, but we'll have to see if they bring it here. The other thing that they announced this week is that the HRV is going to be completely new, and that's going to be revealed, I believe, on the 4th. April 4th, and this is a vehicle that certainly needs a redo. I have a neighbor here who, as I mentioned earlier on the show, calls it the granny car because it can't get out of its own way. And I think if the rumors are true, we're going to get more power from the HRV, and it's certainly an important vehicle in the Honda lineup. It's a compact SUV, and I think they want to play in that field a little bit stronger, wouldn't you say?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you have to play in that field. Everybody's buying them.
Yeah, you just have to do it. And
you have to.
I would love to see them do something like this Honda Civic Hybrid powertrain in the new vehicle. And it's 181 horsepower, but you get that kick right away, the hybrid kick off the line. I think that would do the trick. And, it would just make them a leader in that market other than a vehicle that is slightly underpowered. As I think we both discussed, as the internal combustion, they try to eke out more efficiency out of the internal combustion powered vehicles. I think the drivability suffers a little bit when they do, 9-speed automatics sometimes. And, it's really tuned. It's really tuned for economy than anything else.
It's tuned for leisurely acceleration.
Yes, and if you put it in a mode, we had that experience a number of years ago with a Z4 BMW. It was in the economy mode, and it felt it felt like we were towing like a trailer filled with rocks. Right? There was no acceleration whatsoever.
We thought, boy, this is disappointing.
Yeah, it's like. And then I was like, "What does this switch do?" And it's like, "Wow,
holy mackerel!"
It's like somebody just swapped out the cam and put on freer flowing heads and some headers. It really woke it up. So that's just something to think about when you're driving a new car. Check that drive mode where it's left. And I was just in one. It said It said something like smart mode. But it was terrible because when I put it in, it just lagged and it wouldn't accelerate. It felt like the transmission was really shifting slowly.
And so many have eco mode.
Yeah, eco mode.
Which varies from car to car. You never quite know what it is.
Yeah, and I find also today those drive modes make a lot bigger difference than they used to. In the past, it was like it was just a switch. Wasn't attached to anything. But now they make a bigger difference. So that's just something to remember if you're in a brand new vehicle and you're like, why is this lagging so much? And, it could be you're in a very economy-oriented drive mode. But here's a vehicle that is not an economy-oriented vehicle. This was a Drive for Design winner from our guest who will be coming up after the break, Ben Try Nin. He's a former contest winner and a current designer at Stellantis. Drive for Design is a great contest where younger folks that are thinking about getting into the automotive design field can submit their entries, and they win some great prizes, including, I guess this is what led Ben to his job at Stellantis. So we will get the info from Ben when we come back. This was his take, though, on a Charger for 2025, for the year 2025, and there's a different challenge every year. So we'll find out what the Drive for Design challenge is this year. And Ben will be joining us right after the break. So stay tuned to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. We will be right back. Check us out at cruisecontrolradio.com, where you can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. It's all there. And we got some great new videos up there on our Facebook page. So check them out as well. We'll be right back. We are live every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Watch us on Facebook and YouTube. Details are in this podcast's episode information.
Cruise Control.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back. I'm Les. He's Fred. And very shortly, we're going to be visited by Ben Try Nin, who's is a designer with Stellantis. And we talked early at the beginning of the show that how talented these people are.
Yeah, they sure are. And you look at Ben's submission to the contest, and this is a beautiful piece of art. Look at that thing. So, yeah, it's pretty amazing.
And there's a lot riding on it. When you're designing a car for a company.
There we go.
Yeah, there you are. There's Ben. Hey, Ben.
Hi.
Welcome to Cruise Control. We appreciate you being on the show. We're talking about the Drive for Design contest. This is a contest that was kind of integral to your career, right? I mean, tell us a little bit about what it is, first of all.
Yeah, so about 10 years ago, my boss, Mark Trossel, decided to start this competition. It was kind of based off of a competition he did back in high school. It was very similar, it was sketch and design a car and submit it. And it was just really to get young students involved in the field of automotive design. So fast forward to 2016, that's when I won the competition. I really didn't know anything about the field of automotive design. I love drawing cars. I love drawing planes, anything mechanical. But I really didn't know there was a career opportunity for that. So, in a lot of ways, it really kind of established my path. It kind of helped me decide where to go to college. And, it just really got me to fall in love with the field of design, also Stellantis and its brands.
Now, what did you study in college that directly helped prepare you to be a designer?
So I went to a specific design school called the College for Creative Studies in Detroit. And it's overall an art school, but it's got a very strong design program. So my major was a Bachelor of Fine Arts, but focusing in transportation design. So what they taught in school was very directly what we do in the industry. They teach you skills in sketching, rendering. They teach you how to model in 3D, build things in CAD. They teach you to understand vehicle packaging and architecture. So, in many ways, pretty much what we did in school was exactly what I'm doing now in my career.
That is amazing. I mean, let's look at what you put together for the Drive for Design contest. What were you trying to get with here, Ben? This looks like a Charger to me.
That's right. Yeah. So the competition in 2016 was from the Dodge brand, and they asked students to sketch their vision for a 2025 Dodge Hellcat. And me personally, I love the Charger. I love muscle and I love sedans. So I just wanted to kind of blend those together. And really, it was all about just designing an awesome car that I would want to drive. So I gave it these big Viper-inspired haunches, the kind of classic crosshair grille, this really menacing front end, and then just this totally exaggerated width, just something really dramatic and impactful.
Now, I gotta ask, designers tend, we have a thing around here at Cruise Control. Designers tend to not include rear view mirrors or door handles on their designs. And I said, by the time a design gets rear view mirrors and door handles, then it's probably a go. Why is that?
I think as designers, we like to just sketch the car as pure as possible. We like to exaggerate the size of the wheels. We slam the glass way down, give it more of a hot rod look. And then we leave everything off that's just, kind of messes up the style. We really like to, when we're sketching, just keep it as simple and as pure as possible. But once you get a theme selected in the industry and you start going through kind of going into the clay modeling process and start phasing out a design, then you got to think about part breakup, panel gaps, where the doors are going to open, packaging, air conditioning, all kinds of things. But in essence, it's just, we personally like to just keep it as cool as possible when we're doing the sketch. And it's all really about selling the sketch. You want your image that you put on the wall when your managers come in, you want your image to stand out the most.
Well, yeah, this design of the Charger, it looks like a Le Mans racer, and you look at the picture and you just want to get in and drive it. So now, when you designed it, I assume you're actually trying to create that, oh boy, I want to get in this feel. Is there a principle that you use to develop that, or do you just play with your imagination?
I think it's a little bit of both. Anything I design, and I believe that anything that gets put on the road should embody sort of a soul. You should look at it and it should kind of let you project your own personality onto the car. And a lot of that is, I think, if you're going to design a car, you should want to drive it. You should be like, wow, that's really captivating. I really am excited. Maybe even if it's not a driver's car, I think a vehicle needs to have a soul. And I think so much of that comes from sort of that front end. Either the car has, sort of like a happy face, or it has like a menacing mask. In this case, this car is definitely mean.
That's right. I'm going to eat up the road.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That menacing look, Ben, is it's funny. People are doing that with Jeeps. They're adding it on. They call it the evil eye. It's kind of a trend nowadays. But tell us a little bit about what you're working on. I mean, what happened? You won this contest. You went to school, and then obviously you stayed in touch with then FCA, now Stellantis folks, and how that all progressed.
Yeah, so kind of, going back when I was in high school, I won this competition. And one of the rewards for winning was a summer program at the College of Creative Studies. So that's where I actually ended up going to school. And, that was kind of like my first dive into what the industry was. But then through school, you learned all these techniques, sketching, rendering, and all the time I was in school, a couple people from at the time, Chrysler, Mark Trossel specifically, who was the head of the Dodge brand exterior studio, he would reach out and kind of just be like, hey, can you send me your work?
Wow.
I'd like to see what you're doing. And then he'd give me feedback. And the great thing about this competition is the people who participate, the company likes to keep a close eye on them. They kind of want to facilitate that talent. We kind of use it as like a pseudo recruiting technique. We want to keep an eye on these kids, kind of fuel their passion, kind of keep them interested. And many of them we end up getting internships. And in a few cases, mine specifically, they end up getting jobs at the company.
Yeah, it is amazing, Les. It's sort of a, it's like the old idea of apprenticeship, and I think it's great.
I think it is too. What is a typical day like? Now obviously you're designing something right now. Let's just say it's an SUV.
Well, he's actually working for Ram.
Well, it's a truck, which is even bigger. So you go in now. Presumably, at some point, you've already designed a basic look of this thing. So, but is a typical day where you're honing out the details on, say, the doors and what the openings are going to be? At what point do you have to become less of a designer and more of an engineer to make this thing work?
I think, yeah, it's a great question. There's so many different stages of the process. So I've worked on interiors and exteriors, but it's all kind of the same process. You might start a project and you're given like a brief from your management, and they say, this is kind of the attitude we want this design to embody. So then every designer kind of competes, but they also kind of collaborate, and you try to get to that what we call a theme. And then once you pick the theme, that's kind of like the visual design. You start kind of diving into the modeling. And then, a couple months later, you'll start to get involved with engineering. And that's really when you start to see how your design is affected by the engineering criteria. But all the meanwhile, you still are designing. You're still being very creative and sketching, because sometimes an engineer might come to you and say, this shape of a vent or where this headlight lives isn't going to work. Can we have some proposals to update the design? But it's all about maintaining that original theme.
All right. Well, we're gonna take a break, Ben. So stay tuned to Cruise Control. We will be right back, and more of a look inside the world of design. So stay tuned. Cruise Control is your on-air automotive magazine. Check us out at cruisecontrolradio.com.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. We are talking about one of our favorite topics, automotive design. Ben Try Nin, who is a former contest winner, or he actually is a contest winner. He can't be a former contest winner, but he was a winner of the Drive for Design contest a while back, and that led him to a career as a designer at Ram. And Ben was just going to show us what he was working on this week, but he decided he'd probably like to continue working at Stellantis.
Probably not a good idea.
Yeah. So, but Ben, what are some of your? I mean, like we were talking about this drawing cars. It starts for people drawing cars on their notebooks and just scratching things out, and it's probably some of the biggest fun because you're talking. You start with a piece of paper and a pencil, and we just said during the break that everyone should really try it because you might be good at it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree, and I think that's the great thing about this competition. When students are younger, I think a lot of kids really enjoy drawing, and they love artistic, exploring, sketching, painting, and I think a lot of that kind of falls off at some point. So kind of the purpose of this is to encourage students from a young age and in some ways bypass the parents a little bit and let them know that you can go to art school and get a very, very fun and also lucrative career. But back to that sketching, it's interesting because that small, like Post-it note size sketch is so critical throughout your entire career, whether it's actually designing a car just in small scale, maybe you're on a plane and you're sketching, but also when you're working with the engineers, having that little sketch is just so helpful to communicate a quick idea, like, hey, what if we built it this way instead? So, drawing is just, it's very exciting, but also just being able to do it as a career is incredible.
And that's the thing of a design. I mean, we talked about that before on the show where you might have a great design and the engineer will say, well, I can't mount that box I need to back there, so you're going to have to change it. So there's a lot of back and forth. And then, hey, other designers weigh in, and design is like art. I mean, it's subjective. I mean, you might think it's great, and someone says, no, I don't want, as you were saying earlier, the vent's shaped that way, or, I want the door panel to go in a different way. So I guess part of being a designer is really working well with others, because it's not like, hey, I came up with this great design and that's what I want.
Yeah, absolutely. There's an individual side of it where, you as the designer, you're sketching on something and you're trying to come up with that really great sketch, trying to capture that theme, but you never can just completely fall in love with one of your designs, because the cars you see on the road are the culmination of hundreds and hundreds of people's input and expertise. And, you might get told something won't work that you absolutely love about your design, but you need to just go back and, keep working at it and, trying to capture that theme, because, it's not just about the design. It's about making the vehicle efficient and, manufacturable and marketable to the consumer.
Yeah, that's it. If you can't build it, Les, it doesn't.
Yeah, that's right. Not much use. How much time have you got? From the day that the designers or the everybody in charge says, okay, we're going to build the new model of Ram. Start designing. How much time passes between then and when the final design is okayed and they're ready to start pressing panels?
It really just kind of depends. Sometimes there are programs that go on for a long, long time. You'll hear about like some supercars might take 10 years to develop, but then at the same time, sometimes there might be a very fast-paced program that takes only a few years. So it just really depends on how much development and just sort of the timeline of when the vehicle is going to be released. You can do it very quickly, but you can also really just take your time with the process.
Yeah, and I think we've been doing some stories on how, people want these models faster now. It's turning over. Of course, everyone is moving towards electric vehicles, so that's generating some of it. The key thing, though, I think, is no matter what they're powered by, or even if you're not driving them, it's all about passion and design, and you can't take that out of it and just have them all look like, an egg on wheels. It has to be something that inspires people, because otherwise it would be like clothing. You would just have a shirt and a pair of pants for everyone that looked the same, and you wouldn't bother making them any differently. It wouldn't make sense. But let's talk about the Drive for Design contest this year. What is the challenge this year? You were tasked with building a Hellcat for the future, which the future was 2025, which probably those cars are already designed. But what is the task for this year's entrance into Drive for Design?
Yeah, so this year we really want students to explore their vision of the Chrysler brand and what that means in an electrified space, and kind of just some of the buzzwords we want them to think about is like this futurism and this kind of revival of like what could Chrysler mean to people, specifically like this younger generation that we're asking to design this car. What could Chrysler mean to them? You throw away the sort of paradigms that a lot of us think about what Chrysler was, and we just really want to see what this new future could be.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, now, if people want to enter the contest, where do they go? How would they enter this Stellantis Drive for Design?
So the competition runs about 2 months, and they can go to StellantisDriveForDesign.com. And we just encourage students to submit sketches that are they can be pencil sketches, they can have marker renderings, or they can be fully digital sketches. But we encourage them to take your sketches, photograph or scan them in, and put them on a digital page, and then submit that to the website before the deadline.
Yeah, that's cool stuff. I mean, do you draw when you did your entry there a while back? Did you draw that actually maybe in Photoshop, or did you draw it with actual pencils? How did you put that together?
So to get to the design that you see here, I did a lot of pencil ideation that wasn't shown in the final design. But then over the course of, I'd say, a few weeks, I really just honed in on this design, sketching it in Photoshop, as you said, getting that line drawing, and then adding color. You kind of start adding the wheels and the glass, and then you really just start building on top of that rendering to really, get the reflections, get the shininess of the car, and just get that. We call it like a juicy sketch. It wants to be colorful and kind of pop off the page.
Right. Or pop off the floor of the dealership, Les.
Yeah, that's got to be great for a designer when something they actually design ends up in the showrooms, and you say, hey, I designed that. And of course they say, oh, sure you did.
Pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff. And I think also you think about the legacy, Ben, of the things that you design. And it carries on. And I mean, it carries on for decades. That's got to be a lot of people can't say that. It's almost like the only thing else I can think of is like an architect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So that's kind of one of the goals in the back of everyone's mind is, everything you work on, even if it's a small little city car, a compact or an SUV, everything's got to be done with love because it's going to stay on the road for a long time. Not only does it have to live in market for about 8 years, but people will own that car for years and years to come. And you still want it to embody some soul during that time.
Absolutely. Well, Ben Try Nin, we appreciate you joining us. We'll have to have you back and talk more design at some point. Right now, it's time for me to say I'm Fred Staab.
I'm Les Jackson.
We're going to see you down the road.
Bye.
Cruise Control streams live every Saturday starting at 10 a.m. Eastern. Watch us live on Facebook and YouTube. Details are in this podcast's episode information.